Well, abusia me more about the BONSU media. Ene ye dey kan for more than subscribe. Abusia we ye putupuru enkaibo ene me de BONSU ahwefo enina say baby a yonko wo baby unu wo bia bo modern say wo beto nsa afle no say ene de bibi aba pa mpanifo say na kusie we say bi ompie wia na say kusie be pie wia na chese wo de asem ena enam menu kasa sisi abusia ene menteme wase ne ntokwa kitikiti a ekoso no enye yize empanifo ebu bebi se ne na buro ba kane no ono ena ede ayemonwo no ebaaye abusia die nti ana mebu sa abewe sei eye tiawa bonim se eye MPP eba power ene enti ya yete ye ne se over 60 radio stations ena eye na adodanko akufuado meka se under the government of eye na adodanko akufuado omu krosu eye radio stations mako 60 and over eno mu krosu ne down na abusia sane medical ka cha se ne na buro ba kane no ono ana dia yemunwo no ebaaye enti si ame no kasai asembi atu eno chaman antwibu asia ko Wontumi me no kasai abusia eye yoko honko a wokoye no na ama papa yi ekomo bedi no na emom wo de no to nchanya radio stations eye chaman Wontumi radio station abusia me no kasai ya de ensa atoso a enya asem ketwa ene eye National Communication Authority eye twanitiawa efran se eye NCA abusia enye yizi ya twere letter tintin efritepa ekokopem eye bununu srogo a enya asem ketwa such a mentwibo asia ko Wontumi ne radio stations mienu die antonkonkopem se NDC for ebefra ban mu no weni tumi se obetimi aba life so oba be adwuma abusia radio station no aye ne edikan aye Wontumi radio station Takoradi branch 101.3 FM say omo Takoradi nyina efiri wochena eko omu bie eye Wontumi radio 101.3 a omunya ne obete ane te se ne wotie kurase na wo radio station wo Kumase ache ene wotimi ko furu dia na wo de radio yi nam so enso ye de ya unya enu bi ene omo Takoradi firi chena eko de on the 13th of July 2025 omo wo Takoradi omutie Wontumi 101.3 FM no abusia omunyina omunya Wontumi radio entie biem ewo ho ene sponsor omu yo political talk show omu yo ni nyina no eto ebetwa eno da nchan so a abusia enye wonko a we ene e ka no Asante kasem se wabome abra misum Wontumi de twade si obi mfipa bum enipa ni beso no asaka chanse se wusu a woni ma mekum eno bi ne de acha ma Wontumi eno da nchan ya abusia omo se afiri Takoradi abankran pumpuni mantem Ghana nyina ani se Wontumi radio Accra branch 95.9 FM eno so efiri wochena eko omo wo enkran pumpuni mantem Accra Ghana fo afuru ana Ghana fo ani enina no ene wo ho no ma wo pe Wontumi radio atie awo Accra 95.9 ya abusia ene wo be ya unya because NCA fo edwo mo nsa to so kopem say omo be yo mo hwehwe mu be wi ana say NDC be fra ba mu ne de Wontumi radio station Takoradi branch ena Enkran branch omo ntimi ma ebiem sane me bi duru ya na ene MPP for ba power na over 60 radio stations MPP timi shutting down no enu bi ena Asaase abusia enyo omo nko ade o eno na nchanye tie Asaase radio na Asaase radio no so yenim se Gabi ochele dakon akufuado enio se akufuado wo faase abusia sa papa we se nsonso ono ni radio station ni yade yansa atoso a abusia anya asam ketwa Asaase radio me na okasa sisi abusia eno nso NCF wo se omo makwan ama Asaase radio enso anya adwuma biem na Asaase radio no abusia ni ona awo ye kofa baaye ni din ade Neyi George Anda one ye CEO Neyi George Anda one ye CEO na momtie Asaase radio is owned by Asaase Broadcasting Company Limited and its chairman is Gabi Asare Wachele Dako enti wohwema na kyerɛ sɛ ɛyɛ asase radio no abusua ɛyɛ MPP for radio kan enti duma o madum ni nyinaa no ne ti awa ne sɛ ɛno nso ɛyɛ MPP for dia na wotie ensɛm a ɛyɛ Sam George Eka was it not because of radio stations na ma shut down no ɛyɛ MPP for dia ntira na mmom kasa bi wɔ hɔ no ma ɔmo ka etia mra ne edi kan afi ni ye bi wɔ hɔ no ma ɔmo ka etimi bɔ ɔman etimi di ntɔkwa ɛba ɛna wɔhwɛ ekura mpo ebetimi di ku a friends say ku di ta ebetimi abɔ ɔman mu enti sa radio stations miɛnsa we say ɛda nkyɛn a ɛna ebusia radio stations bɛɛ sɛ ɛyɛ 57 ɛka ho a me ne okasai ɛna radio stations bɛɛ 60 ɛna NDC for Sam George ɛne President John Dramani Mahama ɛne NCA for ɛdɔ mo nsa ahyɛ ase atwerɛ nkrata de akɔ akɔmɔ mu ɛne ukoko pie mu dɔgya radio station bi wɔ hɔ yɛde ato so a wɔn nso wɔn nyɛ adwuma asankelegua nso deɛ ɛwɔ na me ne okasa sisi abusua me pɛ sɛ ɔka me ho na ɛkɔhwɛ live ɛne parliament wɔnom ɛnyɛ yize ɛmra Sam George ade nsɛm yi tu dwa sɛ pɛ wɔwie ya na afɛ no markets macro minority leader ekuo kitikiti te sɛ ɛyɛ wansene ni wɔn leader no wɔsi wɔn te aseɛ da so wo bɛgu radio station biara na ɛyɛ chairman-twibu asi akɔ Wontumi deɛ ɔsi asɛ wɔn de twɛdeɛ paa na ɛhyehyɛ pɔpɛ ya ase na fufufu na ɔmo aka kyɛn sɛ osu a wɔn de tuo bɛbɔ ne kunu saa na wɔn de ayɛ Wontumi eti afɛnum market sunsun bu afuo na ɛmɛ na ɔkasa okɔ pie mu wɔ parliament abusua misunderstanding ne ntɔkɔ a ɛkɔ so wɔ hɔnom no abusua ɛyɛ asɛm ketewa mepɛ sɛ ɔka me ho ne ɛkɔkɔhwɛ sɛneɛ ɛyɛ Sam George ɛde radio stations ni na to dwa wieyɛ ne afɛnum market sɛ yɛ ka me ho ne ɛkɔhwɛ mla sisi yɛ.
He wants his business prioritized. Next time, come to the chamber early. Having said that, Speaker, I will yield to the call. I will yield.
Honourable members, accordingly, the order of business is varied. Opportunity is hereby given to the Minister responsible for communication and digitalization. Honourable member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, FM radio broadcasting remains the most widespread and accessible medium of mass communication in Ghana. For many, especially in rural areas, radio broadcasting is more than a source of information and entertainment. It's a trusted lifeline for civic engagement, public awareness, including national emergency alerts and national dialogue. It connects people to the government, the economy, and each other, often in real times. Mr. Speaker, under Ghanaian law, any entity seeking to establish and operate an FM radio station must first obtain a frequency authorization from the National Communications Authority, the NCA. Per Regulation 54 of the Electronic Communications Regulation 2011 LI 1991, the authorized entity is required to construct and operationalize the station within 2 years of receiving the authorization. Before any station is permitted to go live, the station must invite the NCA to inspect the construction and installation of the station to certify that the station conforms to the standards established by the NCA for radio broadcasting in Ghana. It is upon the grant of the test transmission authorization or a certificate of compliance that the station can commence operation. This process, Mr. Speaker, is not optional. It is the legal foundation for ensuring that our national spectrum is used responsibly, professionally, and in the public interest. Mr. Speaker, the term of an FM radio broadcasting authorization is 5 years. Under Regulation 56 of the ECR 2011, a renewal application must be submitted to the NCA at least 3 months, 90 days before the expiration of the existing authorization. Failure to comply with this 90-day prior timeline results in the application or any new application being treated as a new application before the NCA. In fact, the Electronic Communications Tribunal, chaired by Justice Dzata, affirmed this position in the case of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association versus the NCA Appeal number ECT/APP/002/2017. Mr. Speaker, on 12 February 2025, shortly after I assumed office as the Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, I issued a directive to the NCA to produce a complete listing of frequency authorizations granted or renewed within the preceding 60 days. The objective of the audit was to produce an accurate and up-to-date inventory of all assigned, unassigned, and unauthorized frequency holdings in Ghana. It sought to identify cases of spectrum hoarding, detect underutilized frequency bands, and strengthen enforcement action against entities operating outside the law. Mr. Speaker, alarming revelations unearthed by the initial exercise necessitated me to expand this directive to a nationwide forensic audit of all FM broadcasting authorizations aimed at discharging our sacred duty to manage state assets with integrity. This is part of our Operation Recover All Loot initiative, ORAL. Mr. Speaker, the NCA's audit showed several cases of non-compliance with the regulation and conditions of broadcasting authorization. The preliminary audit revealed over 600 active radio stations with frequencies, many of which were inactive, expired, or improperly renewed. Mr. Speaker, as of this morning, the NCA has commenced phase 2 of our regulatory enforcement following the broadcasting regulation frequency audit. This phase targets several categories of non-compliant FM stations whose operations contravene existing laws and regulations and includes the following. Group 1, 28 FM radio stations who are currently operating with expired authorizations. Despite the NCA instructing these stations to cease operations in 2024, several of these stations have continued broadcasting unlawfully. These actions constitute a violation of Section 2.4 of the Electronic Communications Act 2008. Group 2, 14 FM stations which were issued notices of revocation for failure to establish operations within the required 2-year period following the grant of their authorizations. These stations later requested technical inspections but have not completed the process and have continued to broadcast in violation of Regulation 54 of the Electronic Communications Regulation LI 1991. Group 3, 13 FM stations which applied for authorization to continue operating and have been issued provisional authorization but have not settled the provisional authorization fees in full. Mr. Speaker, without payment of these fees, their authorizations are invalid and their broadcast is a violation of Section 2.4 of Act 775. The last group of stations that we took action on this morning are 7 FM stations who have paid their provisional authorization fees but have not yet received final authorization in fulfillment of the technical and regulatory requirements under Regulation 54 of LI 1911. Mr. Speaker, spectrum is a finite and highly valuable national resource. It is a public good held in trust for the people of Ghana. Those granted access must therefore comply strictly with all applicable legislations. Mr. Speaker, a few minutes ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, directed that the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation work with the regulator, the NCA, to allow all the affected radio stations some additional time to correct the identified breaches within a defined time frame. Those who fail to do so shall have their authorizations formally revoked under the law. In line with this directive from His Excellency the President, the Ministry and the NCA have granted a further 30-day grace period to all defaulting entities. Mr. Speaker, this is not the same as the arbitrary revocations and hefty fines imposed under the previous administration. As the current government, the ministry has also been instructed to waive all the applicable fines that should have been applied to the defaulting entities. Mr. Speaker, since morning, I have received calls from colleagues on both sides of the aisle, notifying me that some interests they may hold have been affected by the ongoing exercise. Dear honorable colleagues, we passed the laws and have a high bar set for ourselves as honorable members of this august house. We need to lead the way with exemplary conduct. As a ministry and regulator, we are status agnostic and will be fair to everyone irrespective of ethnic, religious, political, or social affiliation. Mr. Speaker, let me, just for the records, name the stations that have been affected. Table 1, FM stations that have been issued expiry of authorization letters for failure to apply for renewal. Number 1, Life World Broadcast Limited, operating in Ofinso on 94.3 FM. 2, Akpini Communication Limited, operating in Pando on 96.7 FM. 3, Victory FM in Aflao, operating on 96.1 FM. 4, Oracle Multimedia, operating in Nadoli on 88.5 FM. 5, Jewel Group Limited in Duaria Kwanta, operating on 102.7. 6, Bolton Portfolio Limited, operating in Nkoko on 96.9 FM. 7, the Ghana Institute of Journalism, operating in Accra on 97.7 FM. 8, Obrempong FM, operating in Agona Swedru on 91.7 FM. 9, KD Community Multimedia, operating in Kede on 92.5 FM. 10, Skoja Limited, operating in Joje on 94.5 FM. 11, Prez Express Limited, also known as Daily Guide, operating in Accra on 91.5 FM. Obra FM Limited, operating in Takrady on 89.3 FM. Unity Broadcasting Limited, operating in Impoho, 88.7 FM. Jimas FM Limited, operating in Yeji, 102.3 FM. Kantanka Media Limited, operating in Cape Coast, 92.1 FM. Bewa Radio, operating in Yendi, 106.5 FM. Unique Gateway Communication Limited, operating in Nkoko, 105.7 FM. Ken International Company Limited, operating in Achim Swedru, 89.1 FM. Dreams Ghana Media, operating in New Abrim, 104.9 FM. Velvet Beam Foundation, operating in Asankregwa, 92.9 FM. Magic Group Company, operating in Salaga, 101.9 FM. Don Plus Multimedia, operating in Ho, 105.9 FM. Testlight Company Limited, operating in Wa, 96.7 FM. Global Media, Tepa, 97.3 FM. IMAX Media, Tamale, 104.3 FM. Limanya Radio, Wa, 95.7 FM. Pandai Star Radio, operating in Pandai, 107.3 FM. Ebiamo FM, operating in Jomoro on 100.5 FM. They've all been shut down. Table 2, FM stations that were issued revocation notices. Act Forum Ghana Limited, operating in Akpafumimpiasem, 88.1 FM. Chinias Empire Limited, operating in Tumu, 96.3 FM. Confidence Commodities, operating in Swaman, Dadieso, 90.7. F5 Eagles Company, operating in Ajuafua, 93.7. NEAT FM Limited, operating in Tamale, 105.3 FM. Primary Stars Limited, operating in Banda, 102.5 FM. Subampa Community Radio in Barakesi, 96.7 FM. Wasaman FM in Atieku on 101.9 FM. Mr. Speaker, number 9, Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited. Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, operating in Takrady on 101.3 FM. Number 10, Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, operating in Accra on 95.9 FM. Jimbali Community Association in Jimbali 95.9. Kingdom Dynamic Kukrantumi 93.3. Pro Royal Investment in Tepa 94.7. And Resurrection Television in Takrady 99.3. Table 3, Siadarak Enterprise in Edukrom 95.5. Bangu Company Tamale 97.3. Jam Multimedia in Kintampo 101.3. Chameleon Communication in Wa 91.1. Chaka Multimedia in Jasikan 88.7. Clickshot Multimedia in Shama 89.9. Free Minds in Tema 104.5. Gemsak Media Network in Nswatri 103.3. Mediacast Limited in Kumasi 102.5. Mobile Zone in Bolgatanga 94.3. Ultimate Multimedia in Tamale on 107.1. West FM in Ho on 97.5. Western Salam Company Limited in Takrady 89.7. And Mr. Speaker, the final table, 7 stations. Asaase Broadcasting Company Limited in Accra on 99.5 FM. Dynamic Chapters Limited in Wenchi on 95.7. Global Media Alliance in Accra on 98.9. God Steve Media Association in Atimpoku on 87.7. Rejoice FM in Mim on 101.7. Sankofa in Takrady on 98.7. And Sweet FM in Chifopraso on 106.5. Mr. Speaker, our goal is not punishment, but accountability, order, and the responsible stewardship of a public critical resource. This is not routine housekeeping. This is a declaration against impunity, abuse, and inertia. The airwaves do not belong to the powerful and connected. They belong to the public, and we are duty-bound to govern them transparently and effectively. Our fight is not against free speech. It is against lawlessness, asset misappropriation, and regulatory defiance. I remain committed to reclaiming what rightfully belongs to the Ghanaian people and laying the foundations for a fair, modern, and technologically equipped broadcasting sector. Once again, Mr. Speaker, due to the clemency His Excellency the President has asked for, there is 30 days from today for all defaulting media houses to rectify their default and breaches. And Mr. Speaker, the ministry has shown that we are willing to reinstate. Earlier this year, we shut down 6 media houses who have all rectified their breaches and they have been reinstated. We urge the defaulting media houses to take advantage of the President's clemency for 30 days. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, that is the statement from the Honorable Minister for Communication and Digitalization. It is now, we now welcome comment from honorable members.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, perhaps the majority leader should be the one to announce it. We've agreed 3-3 because we have the Honorable Afriye statement and other questions.
Today we have a lot of statements, yes, actually. Sure. So is the 3-3 going to include the leadership?
Yes, it is so. Yes, it is so.
Very well. So it is 2-2 then leadership. Thank you very much. Honourable members, it is now for your comment on the statement made by the Minister. Honourable members, let's proceed to comment on the statement guided by Standing Order 91. Honourable members, the floor is now yours. Yes, honourable member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity. It's true that the media is the fourth estate of the realm. And then within our democratic dispensation, Mr. Speaker, we know the role the media has played and continues to play in entrenching multi-party democracy in entrenching democracy in our country. The Speaker, if I listen to the minister, I got the impression that we are about to monetize free speech in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, in our communities, Mr. Speaker, in our communities, we all represent constituencies as we sit here. And we know the roles these community radio stations play. So even if you talk about commercial radio stations and TV stations, I wouldn't bother too much. But what about the community radio stations? You've listed about 62 radio stations and radio and TV stations. Most of them are community radio stations. If you stop them from broadcasting, how do we communicate to our communities in Ghana? Mr. Speaker, the 1992 Constitution did introduce freedom of speech and then expression, including that of the media. This minister, this honorable minister, when he was at the opposite side, was the #1 person who went all over the place complaining about the decisions that were taken against some of these same radio stations and TV stations that flouted the law. Now what has changed? Mr. Speaker, what has changed? If you plan to give these radio stations clemency, as is rightly said, then why do you go ahead to issue a statement saying that you are banning these radio stations, then within 3 minutes you do a 360 to say that you are now giving them clemency and that you're giving them a grace period? I'll end by saying that from our side, we think that this decision was not taken with the right mind. We think that it was targeted at some political party people who own radio stations. And we think that it's good that the good people of this country will rise up against this decision. We shouldn't allow political parties, we shouldn't allow the NDC, we shouldn't allow the minister to use his powers to arbitrarily ban radio stations. Mr. Speaker, I end by urging all of us to stand up against this medium terrorism. I'm grateful.
Honorable member, if you say a decision is not taken with the right mind, is that not violating our rules? I will urge upon you to do the needful and then let's make progress.
Mr. Speaker, if I say that the decision was not taken with the right mind, I am saying that the intention,
honorable member,
intention,
with all due respect, I am just drawing your attention to it and asking you to do the needful.
Mr. Speaker,
I'm not to argue with you.
I withdraw and then I withdraw, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Thank you, honorable member. Yes, honorable member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I humbly commend the minister for this move that has been made, and also, Mr. Speaker, to show our deepest appreciation to the President of the Republic of Ghana for showing fatherly love to those radio stations and the media houses. Mr. Speaker, it is established that in every society where law does not reign, we are put in the state of anarchy. We are put in the Hobbesian state where life is nasty, where life is short, and where life is brutish. Mr. Speaker, insofar as we need to sanitize our system, we need to ensure that pragmatism, meritocracy, and honesty reigns. And this is what our minister is doing. We cannot allow impudence. We cannot allow people to do whatever they like. I heard my brother saying that it is targeted at some people and it is local radio stations. Should we allow, because we want radio stations, local radio stations to go on, should we allow people to live as they want? No, we are in a civilized society, and that civilized society must be governed by rules. This civilized society must have leadership, and leadership must show tenacity. Leadership must show that we have leaders. So I want to encourage him. I want to tell the minister that he is on the right course. Ghana is behind him. All of us are behind him. We should ensure that our society, our airwaves is cleared. We should ensure that our airwaves are sanitized. We should ensure that nobody hides behind anything, behind any authority or whatever, to do whatever they like. Mr. Minister, you are encouraged. Go forward, go ahead, and we are all behind you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Matthew Nyindam.
What is your problem? Who is a victim? Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Let me also comment on the minister's statements. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure in this house we all agree that without the media, whatever we do here will be in darkness. And we all agree and we prefer that ugly noises in this country is better than culture of silence. And for that matter, the role of the media cannot be underestimated. Mr. Speaker, I agree that when we pass laws, we must obey the laws. But sometimes also try to see how our laws operate, in the sense that the closure of media houses is not starting today. My minister from the other side has been complaining when he was in opposition. Anytime laws are implemented and some media houses have to be closed down, he will speak vehemently that we should allow the media, because the media cannot be shut down. So he should think about it today. But Mr. Speaker, in his statement, he said some media houses have paid, about 7 media houses have paid up their dues. So I don't see why somebody will pay his dues and the authority mandated not doing their work, and you put them as part of the group that you want to sanction. Why will you do that?
Tell me why.
Mr. Speaker, it also interests me a lot, and all of us must be concerned. I have not seen in the law anywhere that if sanctions are taken, it is the responsibility of the president to give them pardon. I haven't seen that. But interesting, NCA issued a statement today, and in less than 3-4 hours, the president just comes in to give clemency. Mr. Speaker, don't you see something fishy inside there? Don't you suspect some fishy inside there? Mr. Speaker, there is some kind of fishy deals in it, because it's not even 1 day, it's not even 48 hours.
When did you report to the
Mr. Speaker, we all want to agree, and we all want to say that we should look at our laws again, because it should not be in our it will not be in our interest as a nation that our laws that will promote freedom of speech, individuals or media houses will be struggling to renew their licenses. It means that
The minister must look at our laws very well. We must deal with NCA to make it in such a way that some of these things don't reoccur. It should be very liberal. And most of these stations we are talking about are community radio stations. Community radio stations. These are not commercial radio stations that are making profit. They are there to inform, to educate, and to entertain. So I will appeal to minister that fine, it is good that the president has set in and he's talking about just 30 days. Mr. Speaker, some radio stations are not able to renew for the whole year, and today you are giving them just 30 days. I think that that is not enough. 30 days is not enough, and the minister must look at it again. And I sincerely believe that as a nation we should fight to promote media freedom. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yeah.
Thank you. Honourable members, before taking a further comment, permit me to acknowledge the presence of our student visitors in the house. Brema Esikuma Senior High School. Their leader is Mr. Francis Azuma, a teacher. They are from Esikuma Odoben Brakwa. They numbered 80. God's Time Preparatory School, led by Mr. Adoben Kinsley, proprietor of the school. They are from Chufo Ati Mokwa. We have Lotus Field International School, led by Mr. Joseph Edwin, headmaster. They are from Amasama. They numbered 46. We also have Atlantic Bridge Initiative from Mission Resources Network, USA, in our midst. Their leader is Honorable Dr. Augustine Tewia, former Member of Parliament for Bia West. They are 6 in number. Honourable members, on behalf of the House and on my own behalf, I wish our visitors fruitful visit to the House. Once again, you are welcome. Yes, we have exhausted the two. Well, before coming to leadership, yes, minority leadership.
Mr. Speaker, first let me thank the Honorable Minister for making this statement on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, I paid attention to the statement by the Minister. I heard him talk about regulation. Hearing him on regulation, I looked for my constitution and turned to Article 11 of the Constitution, which guided me on the hierarchy of our laws. It's clear to me from the reading of Article 11 that the regulations he referred to cannot stand in the way of the Constitution. If you read chapter 12 of the Constitution, in particular Article 162, Mr. Speaker, let me take your leave to read. Freedom and independence of the media are hereby guaranteed. Subject to this Constitution and any other law not inconsistent with this Constitution, there shall be no censorship in Ghana. 3. there shall be no impediment to the establishment of private press or media, and in particular, there shall be no law requiring any person to obtain a license as a prerequisite to the establishment or operation of a newspaper, journal, or other media for mass communication or information. Mr. Speaker, 4. Editors and publishers of newspapers and other institutions of the mass media shall not be subject to control or interference by government, nor shall they be penalized or harassed for their editorial opinions and views or the content of their publications. 5. All agencies of the mass media shall, at all times, be free to uphold the principles, provisions, and objectives of this Constitution, and shall uphold the responsibility and accountability of government to the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, lastly, on 162, that's 1626, any medium for the dissemination of information to the public which publishes a statement about or against any person shall be obliged to publish a rejoinder, or a rejoinder, if any, from the person in respect of whom the publication was made. So, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution provides a comprehensive guide on the operations of the media space in Ghana. Let me rely on the views expressed by the Honorable Sam George, MP for Ningo Pampram, in the 8th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, he spoke strongly against ministerial action in respect of such defaults. He was against any form of penalty. And Mr. Speaker, in his argument, he relied heavily on the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I adopt those views as though they were mine, to the extent that the Constitution makes certain broader provisions. And this is not to suggest that I am against subsidiary laws enacted for the purposes of regulating these media houses as part of the checks and balances that are required or needed in every democracy. Mr. Speaker, democracy must be guided for the good of democracy itself. So I agree. But Mr. Speaker, in a situation where it becomes obvious that in the exercise of such discretion, there is a clear breach of Article 296, as my respected colleague, the former ambassador to South Africa and MP for Abrim just said, the intent must be looked at, and clearly it comes without doubt that Article 296 has some questions for NCA and the ministry to answer. What we are seeing in respect of the statement from the presidency later this afternoon, a supposed clemency. Mr. Speaker, these are things that are done for the optics when the political system sees that there's a backlash. It is a very rich statement, very rich, and we take this supposed clemency with a pinch of salt. Mr. Speaker, we take this with a pinch of salt. That the NCA, together with the ministry, have embarked on a certain path, and now Mr. President, exercising his supervisory mandate, is now telling them that don't do it. Couldn't this have been discussed in-house prior to this decision? Well, Mr. Speaker, we have been in government before, so we can understand the situation the government finds itself. Mr. Speaker, I have heard certain views being expressed to the effect that, oh, yesterday we heard of similar actions by the executive. I recall that as a member of the appointment committee, the issue of the closure of some radio stations became a critical matter for us to even discuss at the appointment committee. And our friends opposite were very, very firm in their conviction. And I shared those sentiments with them. Granted that something happened yesterday which was not good for our country. Do we have to repeat them? No. Since 1993, no one here can tell me that our democratic journey has been static. It's been very dynamic, it's been fluid. Things are done and improved upon. So in this reset regime, we expect better. No, Mr. Speaker, you do not break it and pretend to be fixing it when it's not broken. You broke it. So if you are fixing, then you say we should commend you, we should be happy. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, clemency is a belated thing. It's because of the public backlash. I would want the NCA and the ministry to be strongly guided by Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution. A regulation cannot overreach and override an express constitutional provision. In the list, the regulation is to guide, but not to impede and stampede the process. What happened today, where Asaase radio was shut down, Wontumi FM was denied the opportunity to broadcast, Happy FM denied the opportunity to broadcast. Mr. Speaker, must not ever happen again, because, Mr. Speaker, when same happened yesterday, it received that criticism. Mr. Speaker, I have with me, most respectfully, the Hansard of this house, October 19, 2017, column 998. Mr. Speaker, the work of a member of parliament is to make his advocacy and rely on records and rely on facts, rely on a reliable research team. And I cannot be making lame arguments here. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Sam George, at column 998, had this to say: I put it on record that the NCA failed to come before this August House in 2015 to approve their schedule of penalties, and that the schedule of penalties as used by the NCA in imposing this charge did not come before this August House of Parliament. As such, NCA is carrying out and perpetrating an illegality which this House must stop, because we are vested with upholding the 1992 Constitution. And I agree with you. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, order.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, order.
Mr. Speaker, this was the respected colleague who was inviting us to uphold the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the gravamen of this submission was to the effect that the administrative body with regulatory powers was required by law to comply with certain provisions of the Constitution. And that is why he relied on the veritable words, "We are vested with upholding the 1992 Constitution." Mr. Speaker, when authority is given by the Constitution, the same Constitution imposes an obligation on that authority. And I have said earlier that that limitation is clearly defined by Article 296. So clearly, I am saying that the respected Honorable Minister must not change his principles by virtue of his new position of honor. He fundamentally agrees that we must uphold the Constitution. And at the risk of being repetitive, the provisions in Article 162, as relied on supra, require of us not to impose any impediment. So if the regulation would impede press freedom, our duty as a house, as Honorable Sam George invited us to do, is to uphold the Constitution. It's our duty bona fide. So, Mr. Speaker, let's not justify in any way this attitude of shut down. If yesterday we were loud on the rooftops that it is not good to suspend or shut down, then today let us maintain the same principle and say that we would rather have an administrative engagement. Why should Asaase radio be denied the opportunity to broadcast? Why will Wontumi be denied opportunity? Why is Wontumi suffering? Why is Wontumi suffering? Why is Wontumi suffering? What has Wontumi done? What at all has Wontumi done? Mr. Speaker, if we say we want to perfect our democracy, then we must be seen to be walking that talk towards perfecting our democracy. This business of it happened yesterday, so we must continue this vicious cycle. Mr. Speaker, it won't help any of us. Today, I will repeat what I've been saying since 7 January 2025, that this power of 187 is not permanent. We have seen 169 before, and we saw 137. So let us all be guided and know that the power immediately you are given is like an ice block. It begins to melt. We should be guided. so that when the power comes to us, we will remember to put in certain blocks that one day we will use it for equity in times of need. But if you have a member for Kwesi Mintim who now says in his submission that he is applauding the harsh measures, the punitive actions of a regulatory authority, which is contrary to constitution. If a lawyer from Kwesi Mintim and a member of this house argues that he finds no problem with an administrative authority vested with regulatory powers exceeding its mandate, Mr. Speaker, as for Hansard,
Honorable Minority
it would
Leader.
always be a great
Honorable Minority
witness.
Leader.
So, Mr. Speaker,
Please operate within Order 91.4.
very well.
So,
Mr. Speaker, all that we are saying today will be referred to tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, so I would want to encourage Honorable Sector Minister to rather deepen the engagement process as directed by the President. Some of these belated actions for the purpose of optics will not help the cause of democracy. Stay away from the punitive actions. Stay away from this excuse of you need to enforce a regulation, especially when in enforcing the regulation you may be slipping out of the confines of the Constitution. We as the minority here will always move with full force to support all those who will be at the receiving end of any form of injustice. Mr. Speaker, without more, I shall resume my seat and listen to the majority leader to have his take on this matter. Thank you so much.
yes, Majority Leader.
Right Honorable Speaker, like I indicated earlier in the day, we have about 30 questions scheduled to be asked of ministers. And the ministers are all here, from the Minister of Finance, Health, Youth Empowerment, Roads. They're all here to answer questions that we have asked. And so, Mr. Speaker, I won't spend that much time, except to just say that I have cited a correspondence, a letter written in 2022 and 2023, and I just think that it will be useful to close this matter by just reading those letters. Mr. Speaker, on the 22nd of February 2023, there was a letter addressed to the Managing Director, Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, Kumasi. Dear Sir, violation of conditions of authorization. We refer to the inspection conducted at the FM broadcasting premises of Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited at Kokomlemle, Accra, in the Greater Accra region on 14th of June 2022. The inspection revealed the following lapses in the setup and operations of Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited. 1. The station's transmission system was located at Accra Newtown instead of Ajangote or within a 5-kilometer radius from Ajangote as required by Condition 3 of your authorization dated 26 October 2021. This is causing interference to stations using neighboring frequencies. 2. There was no fire certificate from the Ghana National Fire Service. No fire certificate. 3. There was no permit from the Environmental Protection Agency approving the installation of the mast. Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited is hereby directed to rectify the above anomalies within 90 days from the date of this letter, that is by 21st May 2023, and invite the National Communication Authority for a second inspection. Please be informed that the cost of the second inspection amounts to 2,000 Ghana cedis and shall be borne by the Wontumi Multimedia Company. Please take note that the issuance of a test transmission authorization for Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited to commence operating its FM broadcasting station in Accra is pending compliance with the above directives. Yours faithfully, signed, Director General Joe Anochi. That is the first one. I have a second one, signed also by the same Director General Joe Anochi to the same company, the Managing Director, Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, also on 21st December 2022, also titled Violation of Conditions of Authorization. Same conditions, transmission challenges, no fire certificate, no permit, repeated and signed again by the same Director General, Joe Anochi. Mr. Speaker, you see, when you take a license and the license stipulates conditions, please endeavor to comply with the conditions of the license. It is as simple as that. It is a national asset and the frequency has been allocated to you subject to payment of certain license fees. Please pay your license fees. I don't think any of us is interested in waking up in the morning, tuning into a radio to hear what is happening before you even step out of your house, only to be told that the radio station has been put off. So we don't want that. But please endeavor to comply with the conditions under which you have been licensed to operate. So that is all that I will say. And also to emphasize that I have looked at the laws under which the minister has issued the suspension directives. Mr. Speaker, there are two laws, basically, and regulations that govern. The National Communication Authority Act 2008. National Communication Authority Act 2008. And the Electronic Communication Act 2008. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask, in 2008, who was in power? In 2008, who was in power? Who was in power? Which political party was in power? Which political party? The NPP. The NPP was in power in 2008. And the laws that govern electronic communication and the National Communication Authority, which define the obligations of license owners were passed by the NPP. So I am surprised that today, the leader of the minority, an MPP leader of the minority, and a lawyer for that matter, will stand in this chamber and say that it is unconstitutional and a violation of the Constitution for laws to be passed governing the management of frequencies. And yet, it was your party and your government in 2008 that enacted those legislation through this parliament. So I think that when you urge others to be consistent, you must also be consistent yourself. So if you say Sam George has to be consistent, I also want you to also be consistent. Be consistent with the position of your party on the management of frequencies. And as for His Excellency the President, I am surprised that you will say that he is being magnanimous because of public backlash. When did the suspensions take place? And when did that public backlash occur that I sitting here I haven't heard? When did that public backlash occur? The suspension occurred at what time of the day? At 10 a.m. this morning. And the clemency came at 12. Within 2 hours, who could have exercised such public backlash that His Excellency the President will be magnanimous to the extent that he is being? And lastly, Mr. Speaker, yes, we are representatives of the people, but first and foremost, if we sit in this house and laws are being violated and ministers are taking steps to enforce those laws, and we stand in this house and attempt to condemn those ministers, then we might as well stop coming here, because we are not here to make laws that should not be enforced. So when ministers are enforcing the laws, we should be the first to be commending them. I remember saying this about this same minister the last time he tried to enforce the law, and some members stood in this house and made statements that seemed to undermine efforts to enforce the law. This is the last thing that should be happening in this country, in this house, that we have enacted a law and a minister is enforcing the law, and we will stand in this chamber and try to take the minister on for enforcing the law. Please, let's stop it. Otherwise, there's no use being in this house. Mr. Speaker, on those very few words, I think that I commend the minister. We thank the President for his decision to direct the minister to suspend his actions. But the minister has given a timeline, and I think that all of us should be urging the media stations, the radio stations, the media houses to try and comply with the law. When it is genuinely difficult to comply with the law, I'm sure the minister will know. When you actually make an effort, the minister will know. And the minister will not arbitrarily just shut down or suspend a radio station when there is clear evidence that the radio station is making effort to comply with the law. So, Mr. Speaker, on that note, we thank the minister for coming to make such an important, urgent statement on a matter of government policy. And I think that we can continue with the next stage in the business of the House.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of cooperation, as we obliged our respected leader, I want to plead with you that since majority leader is done, if we can take the statement by Honorable Ayo. However, just a second. However, I've received communication through the table office, the pleasure of the chair. So I will yield to that. Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Minister for Communication. Please be brief.
Yes. I just want to say thank you to the House for the comments. We are guided by the clemency His Excellency has asked us to embark on. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to the Majority Leader as well for reading the letter. Mr. Speaker, the NC and the Ministry were only enforcing letters and directives that were given in 2022 and 2023. We have written several letters. And so the president, as a good, caring father, and I can appreciate the difficulty in appreciating a good and caring father. If you don't have a good and caring father, you can't appreciate a good and caring father. But because Father's Day is coming on Sunday, President Mahama, as a good father, has directed a 30 days clemency. I would urge all media houses that are affected to take advantage of this Father's Day gift from His Excellency the President and remedy their breaches. Mr. Speaker, they should do the needful. But just so that this house is a house of records, Mr. Speaker, the minority leader asks questions, why do you take Asaase off? I think you should go and read the Facebook page of Mr. Gabriel Tredako, who admits that the general manager of Asaase FM has told him that they failed to do their renewal, which was due in October, and they only did it in December. Mr. Speaker, the law is the law. The law is the law. I thank you.
Honorable members, let's make progress. Honorable members, let's move to question numbered 116, standing in the name of Francis Xavier Kojo Sosu, Member of Parliament for Madina. Honorable member, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask the Minister for Roads and Highways the steps being taken to complete the inner roads project in Medina started under the previous administration. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. The La Quantanan Medina municipality is one of the 29 assemblies in the Greater Accra region. Current program, the Department of Urban Road awarded 19 maintenance projects within the La Quantanan Medina municipality. The projects are located within the suburbs of Abokobi, Taiman, Powerland, Oyarifa, Ghana Flag, Special Ice, Gravel Pit, High Tension, Medina Pantang, La Quantanan, Chief Palace, Medina Estate, Tatana, Nkwantanam, Melcom, Commandos, SDA, Ablo, Oyarifa, Police Quarters, and Pantang Village. 2 of these projects have been substantially completed. 3 are ongoing and the contractors are on site. 14.
Well, Abuja, enkomani yako akotie abano na in fact Ghana ankasa me say Ghana won all that you need with data eno ne ade a wo hia wo man mu a se wonya with data wa wie ha ye minister see in fact ebi hu ani kan kasa wo hwe honorable Alexander Afenyomakina was one de on tiasie imposo mu be take all the radio stations off cramp na radio station bi to say Wontumi radio and afenso so no Asaase radio. Why? Because Asaase radio radio station agidin sikani na ne dia and Kumasi crampo one time me ko hunu omo branch ba ko Kumasi. In fact we use Asaase radio no whisker because omo ye adwuma e was Asaase radio honom no then time no mo branch no e wo Kumasi no na e wo ahodwo roundabout na me say V8 be pa na some of the workers ni use no abusia na adeketwa na wonu krampo de ye mfanto nchen because sabi ye adwuma e pemfa so ne ye adwuma e moka wotie ne Sam George e kana Osi according to Gabi Ochredako. Gabi Ochredako so no Asaase radio no ono so edimatin timai pa ye ya enya de ketwa. Meka so on ye chairman ewo Asaase radio no eso abusia enye adeketwa on na as papa yi Gabi Ochredako babonten eba be make comment say Bosha near air coswa last year October ena lances ya ema kwan ema Asaase radio di ye adwuma no sa lances no ewuye ene wuye na ka woso mu renew no o man renew etu tie radio stations ya Sam George ebobobo edina radio station ameka se wo mu ni nkrata a omutimi ade ye adwuma ewo wo man mu se oman no anase mra emo kwan omonkoje nkrata permission free NCA for no say omo de ba be ye adwuma and oman mu no so no there are a lot of churches krampo no and solid woko akobie woko register wa sorry a omo register no under a business obi oyasofo bia wo hwe me bia KBLACK bia wonim say woko register sorry a omo clarify sorry as a business enti say sorry business here. How much more say radio station na obefa advert wo so asofo ba be preach politicians beba enkrofo be bre enkrofo be ton nuro ni ne keka won nanso so mo say mo register enti eno ana NDC aban president oda no eda oman Ghana nyina no president John Dramani Mahama ana afen so Sam George etena second with tribo mu say da bi sane so no wasa yehwe na obi amra di ne bia no ye make sure say ye de mra ebetwe na so enti wutie Sam George ya was Father's Day eba ene eda ya wada that is on the 12 enti nyame adoma efiada memene da kwasiada na wo check pe na say Father's Day aduru honom enti according to Sam George no was Father's Day ninti na President John Dramani Mahama so eja Ghana na eja NDC fo nyina eja sabi osa yesrem se jata nyina agenti no ene wahunu womo samre ye di womu na omuni lances a womu de ye adwuma omu koje lances free NCA for no a womu de ye adwuma no ehuma bro no ye agenti ene womu 30 days which is 1 month and 1 month na afa no market say ka se da bi isa 1 month ni sakura ka was at least yamfa mo kura ne ke mo be se be lances at least be 8 months ana say if you crampo no enkonkopem middle of next year na ka na de amu na omo abomoden say wo betimi a register ne ne de awu no akọ renew because ne wo mo anim say ne bo edin ansa na betimi akọ NCA akọ register radio station o TV station ne bo no na form na eno na profo bebre ebusa say chairman twibu asiako Wontumi radio station de sabi yetimi de ensato so say chairman twibu asiako Wontumi radio station de esi dai say mo clarify ne say unauthorized a kira say enimre mu NCA for ensan hyase on register ye eno na nkrofo bebre ebusa say chairman Wontumi 1 papa wo wusika edu mre bi krampo no wo ba be bie wo gold so e de kira ye half gold you see obowa have a lot of gold no we say for admoche I can't remember on radio station the TV station so Metro TV now when any interview now we say one go do that Gabi say we go do that for admoche so we go do that was say Metro red gold asa agoro asampa asa agoro ni hu say chama Wontumi abie ni bag no you gold bar e dey akere for admoche no na nkofo bebre we say na chama Wontumi uwo sika bebre wutimi koyi gold bar edum le bi krampa wutimi kase wokoto Chelsea e de aba Ghana na usika uwe ni na 2 radio stations takrade ana akrade wutimi en register ye ana wutimi renew no ano na nkrofo bi entiase aye nkrofo madum krese na empo edum le bi krampo no na asatena na wutimi betra radio so ene Mahama ensa nsem ebeba ye na afi so ye yokofo ene bia na for arrest ye ne omo MPP for be se omo se Rambo style ana komode ba beche chairman Wontumi ka se wabo oman Ghana 1 wabie radio station Kumase takrade wabie bi wa Accra wabie bi wo Siremu so eja ye hwekura no radio station 4 enye easy a wetimi aboa se o man ne betimi afa ne tomapa efira na se president Domani Mahama wo ye wadwen sasabi wo ba be ye ni se ya wo se woni na ni ni ye ba ne nkomfa nkomra wankyere no wonya no wankyere no wonya no chama Wontumi a radio station mienu takrade radio aye Wontumi radio watakrade ene NCA for say aye unauthorized e kire say emra man kwa na say on register ye e wa ban mu enti no Wontumi emi radio station ya man just 1 month so person ye adwuma won frema mu dia ene o make sure say obetimi akọ register say we so be renew no akra so de no so the same thing na afa no mark say kasa no ano say ade a eye ne ya pa ewum ene say radio stations ni bi wo ho no mo krampa community radio ye kasa community radio a meaning say e bia let's say wo pantan no ye bie radio station no pantan fo nko na etete say ye be kasa information center information center ni apanyini ena ye friend say community radio enti omo wo community wo no pantan fo enko an ne benya radio no atie enti say wo free pantan na bia wo ba bi te seta krade a unya radio no entie eno enina no ye say omo register enti no ye de ensa atoso abusia ensem we say ai ekoso na afenyo mark ense wonte ase eno ana Sam George ana afen so majority leader enso make sure say wo ba be kire ne niam mu ye na abusia Sam George edumre bia in fact wo ni sa akwa sa Sam George ani so ahye but sa wo kire ne niam mu na so wote ase e de kikikini na ba fom emro mu kire mu e de kire Sam George no now we share the first comment and listen you not to I will not understand. How dare you that you want to close a year down for the and the Asaase radio and okay can brofia the good honum. Oh we majority leader and so beje a platform. No church mu de chire na Sam George and so beje o church mu de chire no afi workers I was say what the majority leader as a pan say what church in you abusia e say na ye di bu o man na medi ma no ebe wiye na bia yakoto so because egusu a proceeding egusu a ekoso na yakoto so no na me pesa me ka che on say MPPO NDCO wo hwe wo mu e bia radio so wo hwe mu wo TV so wo tie wo mu social media ne na sefo se wo afenyo markings ni obi ku parliament enkosi aga me ka me kire just recently and you say afenyo markets ne NDC ni baako me refi ni din kakra I tell you say Sam George so bi ase na odi ni birthday no one afenyo markets at the table baako ho a drinks wines ene aduane ne nam esi omani mu a omorwe afenyo markets asem o kan say birthday boy ne kurampa o NDC ni na we di ni birthday no ono na oba be boa na me di ni birthday ne ho ofe no you see we create jokes at the two one enti na ye one ma say your party A your party B your party C now ko jina na we to twede na we yesi na just recently na ne na nsan say enura ya titi ya ne morning show na obi frɛ ye efri Kumase to be money ya titi why because ya titi eba ne program so a we didi MPP for atema ono so frɛ ye keke bi kire no eno dan chan so a Wontumi presenter baako ono so the same thing wo ye ni shows and NDC ni bi so afro so didi na tem ka kire nse bi nanim se kwaku a wo fe abebie you see there some words bi wo ho no ma ye na ya to abama mpanifo no mpanifo na ye de ekokromoti ma wo mu na busia yani ehunu mo abonten so mo nkan nanso omo kapa yanti Ghana ase ne ese Rollins ane kofo ba ehyehyehye wonu ma wo mu date but emra kofo eba power yet wonu se o ane sane Rollins aye na de nti kofo eba no obeche Rollins atum obeye but ni nyina mu no ne hu ya ne se kofo ane Rollins ba ehyehyehye wonu ma omo twempra. You see, mre was politics no yetimi di ko ba bia ye tre ya hyiemu na ye nya se be gina simpie so atem di die na we say ana enye fe abusia agusu ye KBLACK bo modern sen komo yi obe hye dia mo nipa bia ena enkomo a ye di hu nkomo na ne okọ parliament ya ne yetwe ne sere ne abasa ye tutugu apaso ne nya tofo no enna ne se NCA fo abusia Afe obi te say Sam George and a President John Romani Mahama ma committee abu mu say radio stations bi wo Ghana ha say ya omun register ye MCA enti NCA omun register mom no mom just 30 days because say nyame aduma Sunday Father's Day enti no eno mom 30 days say omun ko register enti say after 30 days no omun begu radio station na awrahu say mewom ni say chama Wontumi edie mienu ewum takrade Wontumi radio wa takrade ena okwa nkrampumpuni mantem nso a Wontumi radio wa nkrampumpuni mantem sa radio station mienu we say aka no afi Asaase radio gabi wo kire da akon edim tintimai pa na ne otimi kasa wo so ate sesabi ate a esi apaso no to ne pa jenjenjenjenjenjen no eno nso aka ne bi a abusia no nso ya reho sem pa ewo ho na ukopie mu ewo mrehye bedwafi a ene ye twene da reso a mepese o ka me ho na yenkonkohwe enkomo a wo mu se didi afọ man Ghana ho agusu ye KBLACK media bo modern say na ye dey kan ba subscribe wa like no comment no me notification bell no so e dey ama me ka me ho na yenkonkohwe parliament ne ekoso MLCCA.
Mr. Speaker, the Enginasun Old Tafo Feeder Road is a 6.6 kilometer long road. It is located in the Ebuakwan of municipality of the Eastern region. It is a road with gravel surface and it is in very poor condition, Mr. Speaker. There is no program on this road currently, future program. Engineering design studies will be carried out in the third quarter of 2025 for upgrading. The execution of the works itself would be considered under the 2026 budget depending on the availability of funds. Wontumi Township and New Tafo Township. Background, these towns are located in the Ebuakwan North municipality of the Eastern region, Mr. Speaker. Current program, the road network within the aforementioned municipalities is currently undergoing major road construction. The current stage of works is at a gravel awarded under the contract titled Addendum Number 1, Rehabilitation of New Tafo Town Road, Wontumi Town Road, Edukrom Breed Road, and Edukrom Town Road, all to be funded under the Consolidated Fund of the Republic of Ghana. The project was awarded on the 27th of January 2023. The contract commenced on the 13th of July 2023 for completion by 12th January 2026. The project is at 52.02% physical completion. The contractor is currently suspended works due to delay in payment for works done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Member, any supplementary question?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. On this note, honourable members, may I use the opportunity to thank the Minister responsible for roads and highways for attending upon the House and providing answers to all the questions asked and selected for today. Honourable Minister, you are hereby discharged. Yes, any indication?
Speaker, we have the Minister for Youth Development, Health, Government Minister for Government responsible for Government Communications, as well as Finance. All have their questions lined up.
Very well. Honourable members, it appears all the ministers selected to respond to questions for today are all in the House. Now let me hear Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would always want to go by a gentleman's agreement. Mr. Speaker, the understanding was that we'll finish this, take Honorable Ayu Efriye's statement, take limited comments so that we come back to this. Mr. Speaker, it was yesterday that we were to do this statement, and then the understanding of that was that we'll do it today. When the majority leader made his application for us to vary, the understanding was that we're going to take this statement, but you urged upon me that we should finish the roads minister and close this thing because it's long overdue. Mr. Speaker, we are cooperating with each other. I don't want last-minute surprises. Mr. Speaker, please yield for him to finish.
Yes, that is the application.
Because earlier, majority leader made an application.
Yes.
Even
what
when
is the response to the application?
So, if we all agree to cooperate, the firm please, I'm pleading with you. Let's get this thing done. Pleading with you.
Mr. Speaker, please. You see, Mr. Speaker, it's the same leader who chastised us for not making available the ministers. As we speak, the minister responsible for government communication had a question and he wrote for rescheduling. It became an issue. Today he's available to answer. But now they want us to push it back. No, there was no such agreement, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I leave this entirely in your hands.
Well, honorable members, subject to similar constraint regarding the statement that we have just taken. 2 contributions and leadership. I am minded to grant the leave for the statement to be made.
Mr. Speaker, may you live long. Mr. Speaker may have a very long life.
Yes, I'm here. It's in your interest, right? Yes, right, Honorable Speaker. I rise to make this joint statement on the floor, and the joint statement to read by me is made on behalf of myself and Jerry Ahmed Shaibu on the Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association's industrial strike action. Mr. Speaker, we rise to make this statement on an issue of immediate and far-reaching concern to our country. The ongoing nationwide strike action declared by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwifery Association, which has severely disrupted the provision of healthcare services and posing a growing public health emergency in the country. Mr. Speaker, on Monday, the 2nd of June 2025, members of the GRNMA officially began withdrawing their services across the country. This industrial action, which initially commenced with a phased reduction in services, has now escalated into a full-blown nationwide strike involving over 128,000 nurses and midwives in public services. It follows a series of failed engagements between the leadership of GRNMA and key government stakeholders, particularly the Ministry of Finance, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. According to the association, the strike was necessitated by the government's failure to implement key provisions of the 2024 collective agreement, which was expected to address long-standing concerns related to salaries, allowances, working conditions, and other benefits for its members. The GRNMA has cited repeated delays, broken promises, and general failure to act in good faith as critical breaches of trust that violate both the spirit and the letter of the Labour Act. Mr. Speaker, the situation has since moved swiftly through legal and administrative channels. On June 4th, the National Labour Commission declared the strike illegal under Sections 159 of the Labour Act, and filed for an interlocutory injunction. The High Court, acting on the Commission's request, issued a directive restraining the GRNMA from continuing with the industrial action. The court also mandated a compulsory arbitration process to resume negotiations and resolve the dispute within a specified timeline. Yet, as of today, the GRNMA maintains that it has not been formally served with a court order and thus continues withholds services. The legal technicality, whether valid or not, has left many of our public health institutions under intense strain with potentially life-threatening consequences for Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, the effects of the strike have been deeply felt across the country at leading referral hospitals like Kolebu, Konfanoche, Tamale Teaching Hospital, and Accra Rich Hospital. Patients have been stranded in emergency units, outpatient departments have been shut down, and doctors have been overwhelmed by unmanageable caseloads. Some facilities have had to scale down operations significantly, and in some districts, health centers have completely shut their doors to the public. Vulnerable patients, including pregnant women, children, and the elderly, have been left without care. Even more worrying, Mr. Speaker, are reports of tension and near confrontations between striking junior nurses and senior colleagues who have attempted to offer critical services. At Kolebu, for instance, management had to intervene when a dispute arose in the emergency ward. This level of breakdown in order within our healthcare institutions cannot be allowed to fester. Mr. Speaker, the GRNMA continues to insist that it is simply defending the dignity and rights of its members. The strike has ignited controversy within the nursing profession itself. 4 major professional bodies, namely the Union of Professional Nurses and Midwives,
shout down of Chama Wontumi na afin so other radio stations ne gabi watch da akomo radio stations Asaase radio no ebuso mu wie na say the next steps ya also mu take proceed awo ho sa strike ya necessary eko enti no eno mugusu a omo edi ho nkomo no na sebi ana mpanifo ka se dodo akunya wo hoyi no sebi baakofo entran so enche ena no ma wo hoyi no se wa chali edua so aya no age bo pampanifo bo ne nkora bo nyina na mesro se tamuchuku we na proceeding ni guso a omu proceeding no efa sa strike na nurses for ekono yabebo modern se ni besi akire bia no KBLACK media yemfa nkamemo yabema mwanya bi ahwe ne mwanya bi nso ati tamuchuku na subscribe like comment ni notification bell no so efa ma KBLACK media se na be ya day in day out to bia no ya the update for blewa you be the first person a ubenya bi ahwe ne mwanya bi nso akande